Welcome to 11 Plates, I'm Chef Nicolle. This week we're going to be taking your chicken leftovers and making them into exciting new meals. We are going to do chicken Parmesan stuffed peppers, which is a fun and exciting way to use that leftover chicken. Then we're also going to make some quesadillas with roasted chicken, roasted butternut squash, and kale. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to take these beautiful peppers that we got at the market and we need to roast them down a little bit so that they're softer when we put our chicken in. They don't have to cook all the way through. So we're gonna go ahead and slice these peppers in half, and then we're gonna take out the ribs and the seeds. Just like this. And then we're gonna take these and we're gonna place them into a baking dish. You wanna make sure that it's an oven-safe baking dish. And we're gonna place them cut side up so that they can start roasting. I'm gonna place these in the oven and let them get going while we start the next portion of the recipe. Okay, let's get rid of our garbage. The next thing that we want to do is we want to start the sauce for our chicken. As I mentioned, we're going to be using a jarred sauce. There's some really great ones out there. Find your favorite, one with not a lot of sugar, and use it, keep it in your fridge. You've got it for whatever you need. We're going to add some things to the sauce to make it taste better, a little bit more homemade. We are going to add some onion, we're going to add some garlic, and we're going to add a little bit of chili flake. We're gonna cook the sauce with these aromatics to get a nice base for our peppers. So again, you always wanna cut the stem end off of your onion first, and then slice it down the middle through the root, which gives you 2 halves. We're gonna peel this onion and then slice it. We are going to dice them down. I said slice and then dice. We're gonna take our onions and we are going to dice them. Keeping our palm on the onion and our fingers up out of the way, we're gonna make slices going towards the root end but not through. And then again, coming down. And then finally at a 90-degree angle. This is gonna be the easiest way to dice your onions. We're gonna go ahead and cut up both halves of the onion, and then we're gonna smash up some garlic. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and slice. Pull that back as we dice. Okay, there's our onion. Now I've got 3 garlic cloves right here. Easiest way to get these cloves out of their paper is to lay the flat side of your knife and just push. You'll hear it pop. They will collapse, and then it's super easy to pull out your fresh garlic cloves. Now, because we've smashed them, we've already done half the work. You're gonna go ahead and just take your knife, watching your fingertips, and run your knife through that garlic and chop it down fine. Okay. Now we're gonna come over to the stove and we're gonna get this sauce starting. We're gonna let our pan start to heat up over medium-high heat. We're gonna add a little bit of olive oil. About a tablespoon. Let that start to heat up. You can see we've got a little bit of smoke, a little bit of going on there. So we're gonna go ahead and add our onions and our garlic to that pan. That's the sound that you wanna hear. Gonna give these a little bit of a stir. Gonna turn the heat down just a little bit. We don't want these to cook too fast. We don't want them to burn. We're just looking to wilt them down a little bit. While these are cooking, I'm gonna add a couple pinches of salt, a couple grinds of pepper, and for some excitement, we're gonna add a little bit of red chili flake. Now you don't have to add these if you don't like spice. I like it. I think it gives a nice balance to the sweetness of the tomato sauce. Gives the whole dish a little bit of depth. So we're gonna let this cook for just a minute or two until the onions soften. And then we are going to add in our jarred tomato sauce. Again, we were talking about tomato sauces earlier. You can use whatever jarred sauce that you prefer. I like mine nice and smooth, with a little bit of sweetness and not too herby. That way I can add things to it when I'm cooking. But if you've got a favorite, go ahead and use it. I'm gonna let this just simmer for a minute or two. While that cooks, I'm gonna talk about our chicken. This is leftover chicken breast that we had from earlier in the week. It's been cubed up already, and I'm just gonna take it and break it into slightly smaller pieces. It doesn't need to be tiny, you don't need to shred it. Just small enough to fit in your mouth is the best way to think about it. That way, it'll fit nicely into the peppers. Okay. So there's our chicken. It is all nice and shredded up. I'm gonna wash my hands very quickly and then we'll be back to finish putting the sauce all together. Okay, we've shredded our chicken and I'm about to go ahead and take our tomato sauce and add it to these cooking onions and garlic and spices. I'm gonna make sure you get all of that sauce into the pan and go ahead and stir it into the mixture. You want to get all of those onions and garlic incorporated right into that sauce. And we're just going to let this simmer for a minute or two. We're not looking to cook it because it's already cooked. We just want it to get nice and warm and get the essence of all of that garlic and that onion. I'm going to go ahead and give it 1 pinch of salt, a little bit of pepper. And as soon as it starts to come up to a little bit of a simmer, you are all set. We're going to turn that heat off. And we're gonna fold our shredded chicken right into this sauce. All right. So there's your shredded chicken. We are going to fold that sauce and that chicken together. It's gonna be delicious. That's the beauty of chicken, right? It takes on the flavor of everything that you put with it. So these Italian flavors, this tomato and these onions and this garlic is gonna be so delicious. Okay, so that is all set. I'm gonna go and take our peppers out of the oven now. They should be ready for us, and we will start stuffing our peppers. Those are beautiful. As you can see, our peppers have started to slump down a little bit. They've released some of their water. We want to get them nicer and soft so that they will not overcook as we heat up our stuffed peppers. There is a little bit of water in these peppers, so what I want to do is you want to drain those out. I'm going to carefully take these containers, these dishes over to the sink, and I'm going to empty out the water, the moisture that has come out of these peppers. You don't want that to water down that beautiful sauce that we made. So now I'm gonna take our chicken mixture and I am going to fill these peppers. Just tuck that right in there. This is a lovely light lunch or an easy dinner. These freeze very well, so they're great to make ahead and save for a time when you're a little short on time. You can see how pretty these are. If you get the different colored peppers at the market, everybody can get a different color pepper. It's beautiful. And now the last thing that these peppers need is their cheese, right? What's Parmesan without cheese? So I have a beautiful ball of fresh mozzarella here. I'm just gonna cut some slices off of this ball of mozzarella. And we are going to lay it right over the top of these peppers. One more piece there. And now, because we've already cooked the peppers and we've already cooked the filling, the only thing that really needs to happen now is that we need to get this cheese get nice and melty and bubbly. So we're gonna go back in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes, keeping an eye on it until the cheese gets nice and bubbly and starts to brown just a little bit. And we'll be right back. And here we are with our Parmesan chicken stuffed peppers. So you can see we're starting to get a little bit of bubbling, a little bit of browning. And these containers here are perfect to serve in. Go ahead and take a look. We're gonna garnish these with just a little bit of green. I always feel like a little bit of green makes everything pop. These are your Parmesan chicken stuffed peppers. A fun take on chicken Parmesan made with leftover chicken and a couple of peppers that you have rolling around in your fridge. So now we're gonna make our roasted butternut squash chicken and kale quesadillas. This one is super simple. We're gonna use some more of our leftover roasted chicken. I've got this butternut squash that we had for dinner last night. Didn't quite use it all up, so I'm gonna add in some chili powder and some garlic and give it a whole new flavor profile. We're gonna cook off some extra kale real quick with some onion, and we're gonna build these quesadillas with cheese. We're gonna serve them with some already made pico and guacamole. Let's get started. We're gonna start by slicing down half of our onion. We don't need a lot, just a little bit of flavor into our kale. So again, we're just gonna dice this down. Little room on my board. Go ahead and dice this. And I'm gonna take it straight back to my hot pan back here. Okay, so this pan back here has some oil in it and it's getting hot. The nice thing about this recipe is that we're gonna use this pan, for both parts of the recipe. We're gonna go ahead and cook the kale in this pan, and then we're gonna heat up our quesadillas in it as well. So make sure we get a little extra oil in here and let that start sauteing. So these onions are starting to heat up. We're gonna add in our kale, and we wanna cook this down nice and soft. Kale can sometimes take a minute to get soft. You really wanna cook this down. You don't want any real big pieces in your quesadilla. So we're just gonna let this sit for a minute. And in the meantime, we're gonna go back and we're gonna finish putting together the rest of our fillings. We have here this bowl of mashed butternut squash. We didn't quite eat it all the other night, so we're gonna go ahead and re-season it. I've got some garlic powder and some chili powder here. I'm gonna add that right in, along with a pinch of salt and a couple grinds of pepper. I'm gonna take my spoon and stir that in. Can you hear that kale in the back? That's the sound you wanna hear. Okay. Now that our squash is ready, we've got our chicken. We're just gonna, same as before, we're gonna go ahead and shred it up just a little bit more. We had used it in chunks earlier in the week, and now we just want smaller pieces. So this is ready to go. We're gonna set up our station to build our quesadillas. I've got my shredded cheddar right here, shredded it right off a block that I had in my fridge, but if you have shredded in your refrigerator, go ahead and grab that bag of shredded. That's not a problem at all. I'm gonna check on this kale, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna start building these quesadillas. Okay, now we have all of our components of our quesadillas ready to go. Let's put these together. We're gonna take a little bit of that shredded cheese, again, either shredded off a block or a bag of shredded, whatever you happen to have in your refrigerator, doesn't matter to me. This is essentially the glue that's gonna hold all of our fillings in the quesadilla together. So go ahead and sprinkle a little bit on the bottom tortillas too here. Then we're gonna add some of our butternut squash puree with the chili and the garlic powders that we put in there to give that a more Mexican, Tex-Mexy style flavor. Go ahead and put this on the bottom of both quesadillas, both tortillas. Again, don't worry about that cheese moving around. It's all gonna melt together and be like glue. Next, we're gonna put in some of this cooked kale with onions. As much or as little as you like. It's a great way to get some greens into you or into your kids or your spouse, whatever amount works for you. As you can see, these are actually nice and hearty. I'm gonna go ahead and add some of this leftover shredded chicken. And then again, we're gonna top this with a little bit of cheese. And then we're gonna take them back to the oven, to the stove, and we're actually gonna cook these in that same pan that we cooked down our kale on. There's no reason to make more dishes. We're gonna use that same pan right there. Okay, so you're gonna put your tortillas right on the top, and this is important. You wanna push it down to make it as flat as possible. Again, that cheese is gonna be your glue. Just gonna push them down. And then we're just gonna take these right back to the stove. Now we wanna use a low flame to heat up these quesadillas. We don't want them to cook too fast, otherwise we'll burn the outside before everything melts and warms through on the inside. Just a tiny bit of oil, and we're gonna let that heat just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and spread that around. You can tell that your pan is warm enough if the oil spreads easily. And then very carefully, depending on how big your pan is, you can probably do 2 at a time. I can do 2 at a time here. And you can hear that sizzle, right? That's what we want. We want to go low and slow and let the tortillas brown on the bottom and let everything heat through. It's gonna take probably 4 to 5 minutes on each side. And then we're ready to go. The nice thing about these quesadillas is they are already cooked. Everything inside is already cooked. So it's just about getting everything warmed through. These are great, again, for lunch. They're great for a light, easy dinner. You just wanna take a peek every now and then and see if they're starting to brown. Your spatula, get a nice white spatula, and you're going to very carefully flip that quesadilla over. You see we're starting to get some nice browning there. Beautiful. We're just going to tuck that back in. And let those go another 4 to 5 minutes on this side, and they will be all ready. So our quesadillas are out of the oven now. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these each into 4 sections, and we're gonna put them on this platter. And as you can see, we're gonna serve them with some guacamole and some pico de gallo. I always have both of these in my house, always. They are perfect for dipping quesadillas, chips, anything that you have, and they make the perfect accompaniment to these quesadillas. Take a look at this. You've got some gorgeous butternut squash mash that we have transformed into a whole different flavor profile. Who doesn't love cheese? You've got your leftover chicken taken care of. You got some green in your life. These are our butternut squash, kale, and chicken quesadillas served with pico de gallo and guacamole. Enjoy. And so here we have, again, our Parmesan chicken stuffed peppers and our quesadillas stuffed with leftover chicken, sauteed kale with onions, and some butternut squash served with some guacamole and some pico de gallo. So now you know exactly what to do with your leftover chicken. I'm Chef Nicolle from Love and Plates. Please check out the next episode where we're working with salmon, and also give us a check at loveandplates.com. Thank you.